So Moses had led the people of Israel out of Egypt after some 400 years in slavery there. And I've always imagined being there, on that day when you're finally actually leaving. Not like you're thinking maybe it'll happen, I hope it'll happen, but you're actually getting ready to leave. It had to be like the most highest mountaintop spiritual experience you could possibly have. All you've known your whole life is slavery. All your parents knew, all their parents, and so forth. Back several generations, all you've known is slavery. All you have dreamed about your whole life was this day. You have begged, you have pleaded, you have prayed to God for this day to come. And I can only imagine that as you were actually lined up with the people, the community of Israel, right? And you were stepping out of the city, that every step had to be just this almost miraculous, amazing, exhilarating feeling. You're going off to freedom. It's my step today. There's no slave driver watching over you. There's no one yelling at you to go faster or to work harder or to get the quota done. There's nobody beating on you or on your family. It was your step. And every breath had to just be this amazing sense of freedom. I'm assuming it had to be that way. They were headed out on this journey to a promised land. They didn't know how long it would take. They didn't know exactly where they were going. All they knew is they were free, and that they were on this incredible, awesome God moment type experience, that he was moving them out, and God is awesome. That's where they're at. And like often happens, always happens, somewhere along the way, things began to fade a little bit. The mountaintop experience became a little more distant from its happening, right? The negativity began to kind of work its way into the camp. People began to grumble. We're not moving fast enough. I don't like the food. Are you kidding? Warm water? That's all we've got? I mean, the direction of Moses, can you believe it? Well, some even suggested, let's just go back to Egypt. Where does that come from? Before you know it, this beautiful moment, this life-altering moment of breathing fresh, free air becomes a burden of like walking behind the donkey of the person in front of you. And that's all you can see. That's all that's in your mind, rather than the fact that you're on this most amazing journey of God-sized proportions. And the excitement of this new, mysterious journey now is a hardship of living day to day, walking through the hot sand, walking under the brutal sun of the desert, sleeping in a dusty, dirty, temporary tent. What had started out as a hope on day one turned into 40 long years of wandering aimlessly through the desert, one generation completely passing and the new generation being born through the journey, right? 40 years. Most of these people now, all they had known for food was bread and water. And you think your cupboards are bare. You think your meals are boring. 40 years of bread and water. 40 years living out of a suitcase and a tent. They had lost sight of the fact that they were smack dab in the middle of one of the most amazing, God-inspired, miraculous journeys ever to take place in the history of the world. They were in it. They were on the journey, and the people of God had become distant from him. They even stopped doing the one thing he had said, hey, don't stop doing this. This will be like the sign of our relationship. This will be the thing that everybody knows we're close, we're together, and it will last forever. In Genesis 17, God makes this deal with Abraham, and God said to Abraham, verse 9, as for you, you shall keep my covenant. This promise we have together, right? You and your offspring after you throughout their generations. It's going to keep going. It's going to just keep going. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you Verse 14 says, and any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. So Israel went from this mountaintop high experience, everything is great, God is awesome, isn't it the greatest thing in the world to be a person of God, to, yeah, let's not worry about that circumcision thing anymore. I know it's a sign of our relationship, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of hot out here, right? It's kind of miserable. Let's not make Junior any more miserable than he needs to be, right? Let's just kind of forget this whole thing. Their lack of obedience became an outward sign that their relationship with God had turned dark. You ever found yourself there? Where the relationship with God is just kind of, not really happening. You look up one day, and I don't know, maybe you allowed some sin into your life, and it's just kind of creeped in, and it just hasn't bothered you. You just keep doing it, or you become just kind of spiritually fatigued, just tired. You're just like, just keep doing the same stuff. You want to care, but for whatever reason, you just don't care that much. I mean, God is all around you. You can see his miraculous powers at work all the time, but your relationship with him is kind of like distant, just kind of out there. The things that you used to do with joy now are like burdensome. Like, I've got to do that again. I've got to teach this class. I've got to change a diaper in the nursery. Whatever it is. We've all experienced it. I mean, honestly, we've all been there. Every one of us. And the sad thing is, it honestly doesn't take that long to get there. I wish I could tell you, that's like a rare thing. Can you believe these people in the Bible that had? But it's a common thing. For some, it could be just a few summer months of distraction, or maybe a few weeks of just being spiritually unengaged, and then pretty soon you wake up and say, "Well, I kind of I don't know where I went. I don't know what happened. I don't know where I went wrong." Before you know it, your mountaintop experience with God is like this valley, and you're wondering, what? How did I get here? Sometimes you have to just stop, slam on the brakes of your life, and say, God, let's refresh this thing. Let's get this relationship. Let's re-kick this thing. So after 40 years of wandering in the desert, God makes a move. Joshua becomes the new leader. He takes the place of Moses. The Israelites miraculously cross a river into cross the Jordan River into the Promised Land. So now they're at the edge of the Promised Land, and God says, you know what, guys? We're going to stop right here, and we're going to reconnect. Because we've gone far enough at a distance. It's in Joshua chapter 5. It says, at that time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the sons of Israel a second time. It goes on in verse 8, when the circumcising of the whole nation was finished, they remained in their places in the camp until they were healed. And the Lord said to Joshua, today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you. And so the name of that place is called Gilgal to this day. While the people of Israel were encamped at Gilgal, they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month in the evening of the plains, on the plains of Jericho. And the day after the Passover, on that very day, they ate of the produce of the land, unleavened cakes, parched grain, and the manna ceased the day after they ate of the produce of the land. And there was no longer manna for the people of Israel, but they ate of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. This is a major, major turning point for Israel, for the people of God. I mean, the manna never came back, ever. All right? This is a major turning point. They're leaving the desert for now the land of plenty that they've been looking forward to for so long. They're leaving behind bread and water for fresh produce and wine. They're moving their lives to this whole new level, this whole new relationship with God that they had never had, this generation had never had before. It was time to forget the past. It was time to move forward. It was time to pull themselves together and start over with God and go back to the relationship that the people of God had once had collectively with him and individually with him, where he would be their God and they would be his people. Let's start over. That's what's going on here. Aren't you glad we have a God who is loving and patient and takes people like you and I back time after time after time? I mean, that's amazing to think about it. We foolishly stray away from him, and he's always there pursuing us. He's always there welcoming us back. We're always that prodigal son or daughter running from him, and he waits for us to come back. And when we come back, he takes us again and again and again. Aren't you glad God doesn't look at our too often lack of faith and just get rid of us? Aren't you glad he doesn't look at our ability to maintain these mountaintop spiritual highs in our lives, or that he doesn't look at our fickle responses to his grace and just be done with us? It's amazing to me that he loves us that much, and he keeps loving us. We have a lot of you know this, a dog named Zoe, right? She's been a good dog. This is a picture when she was younger, and in her glory days. She's been in the family for years now. I mean, like a long, long time. And to be honest, right now, she's like at the high end of her life expectancy. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of time left. But she's been a great, great dog. She's only had like one accident, right, ever. And that was like the first week she came home, and it was a nervous thing. Like, whoops, you know, and then like it never happened again. So, and that's really like that's big to me. I'm like, okay, we'll keep you. You know, that's a good thing. She sleeps at night. She doesn't get in the garbage. She can walk right by the garbage that could be, you know, and she doesn't care. You know, like we've had dogs from the past where like I'll knock that garbage can over and I'll have everything in it. You know, but not Zoe. She doesn't care about that stuff. She doesn't bark at people when they come over. She doesn't shed all that stuff. That was her younger years. Now she's old, and her age is kind of catching up to her. She's having trouble walking, like her back legs just kind of sometimes don't work very, very well. Sometimes she'll walk along and things just kind of come out of her backside, and she's like, oh, and you know, and she's like, she didn't want it to happen, but didn't know it was, you know, she's just losing things, right? Bad things that we don't want there. And that's going on. And every once in a while, we'll see her like at the wall, scratching the wall, like trying to figure out where she's at in the house. So she's probably going blind, a little senile. I mean, there's just things going on in her life. And now she barks, you know. The doorbell rings, and this breed, things kind of start collapsing. So she sounds like she's been a smoker for 50 years. She's like, you know, trying to bark. I'm like, oh, pitiful, poor little thing, you know. And it's like, I mean, it's just where she's at. And she follows Cheryl like within 2 inches around the house. Because here's the deal. As she has become more and more senile, I have kind of backed off. I'm like, you. I didn't mention I guess they're warts. That's what the groomer says. Growths that she has. It's just like, I don't want to pet her because I'm like, you know, I was like, that's just kind of where, it's like, here's my deal. As she has become less attractive, I have become less interested in her. I know that's shallow. I mean, it is. I'm admitting that. That's not impressive. That's not a great example of grace. Aren't you glad I'm not God? I'm just saying, I'm glad I'm not God. Because sometimes, here's a picture more current of her. Actually, there's worse ones. I just couldn't find them. I was like, where are these bad pictures of her? But she was swimming. I'm so glad God is not like me in dealing with us. He has grace. He has love. He unconditional love, and he keeps pursuing us. He keeps pursuing us. We so often start our spiritual journey of faith with Christ with energy and excitement and passion, this unbridled enthusiasm for his church. But through the course of time, we just kind of get bogged down. We get distracted, maybe the sin that we allow into our lives. Our faith becomes routine. Our faith becomes somewhat predictable. Our faith becomes, shall I say, boring, even to us. But no matter how far we stray in our relationship from God, no matter how messed up we allow ourselves to get, he always welcomes us back and pursues us. Thank God. Thank God. And fortunately for us, I mean, really, outpatient outpatient surgery is no longer required to get back into relationship with him. All he requires from us is this humble heart and obedience. He says, come on back. Let's refresh this relationship. Let's get this thing going again. Some of you will remember back in the 80s and early 90s, the old Nestea commercials. Some of you weren't born yet, I know, but how many of you remember these? Like they played them over and over and over again, and just for fun, I got on YouTube and watched a few just to remind me like what they were like. I have a very sad life, but they always would set up the commercial with like you're hot and maybe you were working out. Some guy was jogging or hiking, and they're like, oh, I need a break, or they were helping someone move or whatever. You're just hot, you're worn out, and you're tired, and they're like, all you need is this cold, refreshing glass of iced tea, and they would take the thing and it'd be like they would fall into a pool, and they'd be like, you just felt good sitting on the TV watching them do that. You know what? I think we have to do that with our spiritual life once in a while. We kind of have to take this figurative spiritual iced tea and take the plunge once in a while. And that's my goal with this short series. And we're kind of just breaking off what we're doing, just momentarily, to do this thing of refreshment. I want us all to be refreshed in our spiritual lives, to have a fresh outlook at Jesus. I mean, I would hope that Matthew would do that, and we'll go back to Matthew in a few weeks, don't worry. But I just felt like, let's just take a break for a few moments, a few weeks, and just like reconnect. If you've strayed, I don't even know. There's no like data I have that says, we need to do. I just felt God saying, do this. Just take a break and let's be refreshed. And now a refreshed outlook toward Jesus, to walk away from the past, whatever it is you got going on and that you've been doing that has bogged you down, to move forward with your faith, with a new energy, a new commitment, a new vitality. You know, the reproach of Egypt, let it just roll away. Let's get over that, whatever it is, and move forward in your relationship with Christ. Today literally can be the beginning of something new for you if you want it to be. If you want it to be, right? But of course, it will take some effort on your part. We didn't hand out easy buttons today for everybody to say, okay, great, all right. I mean, any relationship, every relationship that's worth having requires a little bit of effort, at least, on both people's parts. So here are some ideas, whatever they're worth. There's plenty of ideas. Here's some ideas I came up with that maybe will help you as we move into a few weeks of thinking about refreshment in our relationship with God. First thing is to shake things up. Right? Just shake something up. Shake some spiritual stuff up in your life. Circumcising all the adult guys in one day shook things up a bit. Okay? I mean, the whole camp, they were like, it shook things up. All the people of God were like, whoa. I mean, everybody could remember that? Yeah, okay, let's not talk about it. I mean, it was a moment they could look back to and say, yes, I remember that happened, and it changed things, right? So here's my thought. Do something. I don't know what it is. Do something in these next few weeks or days, whatever, to shake things up in your life. I'm not recommending outpatient surgery, but if that works, whatever, do something. I would suggest, like, take a day off of work, or a half day, or get a babysitter for the kids. Whatever it is that could get you out of your routine and run off, leave your cell phone behind, leave your iPad behind, just take a real-life paper Bible with you, because otherwise you'll be tempted to play cards or something, and just go somewhere. I don't care where, a beach, a park, a cabin, a motel room, whatever. Go somewhere and just hang out with Jesus for a day. Can you think of the last time that's happened in your life? Has it ever happened? Not that you have to go to a motel or a cabin, but I mean, can you think of the last time, no distractions, you and Jesus? We're so busy. You need something radical. Shake things up a little bit. You probably have some vacation time. Oh, my vacation time's precious. Well, good thing your relationship with Jesus isn't, right? I mean, don't want to trade that, right? Do something. Do something. I know practical, it's inconvenient, there's all kinds of reasons not to do it. That's what makes it memorable. That's what makes it a shake-up type. You're not going to just work a shake-up into your schedule. Okay, shake up at 4 o'clock on Friday, we're going to go see a movie. I mean, do something that shakes your spiritual life. If I have any regrets in my personal spiritual walk, it is I have not done this enough. even though I've always known I should. I mean, it's been drilled into me through the years, and I don't follow this advice. So I know I'm saying this, and you're all thinking, yeah, right, yeah. You're already dismissing it, some of you. Please don't. I'm talking to myself here as well. Do this. Do this. Take some time away, a day, a half a day, whatever, something long enough that will shake you up. Because it's going to take you some time, honestly, to unwind and just hear the voice of Jesus. Get away and listen. It's always impactful. Always, always. You know, I can't demand you do this. I have no repercussion for you if, it's just like, well, yeah, just preach on, brother. But here's what I do have. To balance the ugly pictures of Zoe, I have cute puppy eyes to convince you. It's for the puppies, all right? Do it for the puppies. Take some time off, shake things up, work on your spiritual life. Go to a conference. If you're not in a community group, join one. No, I've never done that. Exactly. Shake things up a little bit. How about our life transformation LTG groups, right? If you're not in one of those, I've never done it. Well, then do it. It'll shake you up. You need some accountability in your life. Do something that will shake your life up. We're starting a men's group in October, the first week in October, that we've never done that before. So there's a good chance you haven't done that, at least in years. Come be a part of that if it works in your schedule. It'll shake things up a little bit. Find something that will shake you up, or you'll have the same thing going on, status quo. Here's a second thought. Re-energize your prayer life. That might mean go on a fast. We've talked about that many times over the years. We're going to have another 24/7 prayer room very soon. In a few weeks, I'll try to get a sign-up on our Facebook page coming up this week in our group that you can sign up for an hour slot. We've been in this building almost a year, and we haven't had a prayer room here yet, which is a shame on us, right? We have a prayer room right there, so that'll be where it kind of takes place, and it'll be 24 hours. We'll probably just do a 3-day thing to get things kicked up again and get it going. Shake up your prayer life. Shake up your prayer life. Okay? It doesn't have to be that. We'll encourage you to do that, obviously. But plan maybe a prayer focus at work where you're there anyway, right? Take a portion of every day. Surely you use the restroom. Sometime, when you're walking around, you see people, you interact with people somehow. Just silently pray for specific things at work, for the people you work with as you walk by them. There's a shift in your mind. Rather than thinking, oh, that's the person that steals the staplers, just be praying for them that God will provide staplers, whatever, do something for them there. Pray, make a focus at work. Maybe you and your family can go on a nightly walk for a week. Say, hey, this is going to be our prayer week, family, and we're going to take 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We're just going to walk around the block once or twice, and we're going to just pray for people who live in the homes around us. That's not outlandish. They don't even have to know you're doing it. You can pray silently, but it kind of shakes things up a little bit if it's something you don't normally do. Maybe you need to wake up an hour earlier or go to bed an hour later. Whatever, shake up your world a little bit in your prayer life. How many of you have seen the movie The War Room? Just come out recently. It's pretty good. Go see that. Rarely do I actually recommend one of these movies. It's a good movie. Here's a movie where a gal cleans out her closet and literally has a prayer closet. There you go. Got some stuff, Goodwill wins, right? And whoever, somebody wins, you get rid of some clothes or move it somewhere else and have a prayer room. That shook up this person's life, radically changed her world because she shook things up and she energized her prayer life. She did both of these things in the movie. You'll notice that most spiritual breakthroughs that you read about in Scripture aren't at a conference, aren't when someone's jumping up and down and hollering. It happens when someone's alone with God, right? It's rarely in the group. It happens when God kind of pulls us out of our busy schedules, when he slowed us down a little bit, long enough to look up and say, oh yeah, God. And then he speaks quietly. And when we stop long enough and pause long enough to listen, there's a reconnection that goes on. Do that. Consider that. Here's another suggestion. Get crazy with your community group. I don't even know what that means. You guys brainstorm. Hey, let's do something crazy and talk about it. We'll have information online again about the tabernacle thing that's coming up at the Bible camp. There's a life-size tabernacle. It's there in the next couple weeks. that you can go through and tour life-size what the Old Testament tabernacle was like, and I hear it's a great, refreshing experience. I was going to try to plan like a group thing, but like you got to get online and sign up, and I'm not the detail guy. Don't have me organize things. So just get online. We'll send you a link and plan a time to go out there. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe you can do that as a small group. That'd be crazy. But just do something crazy. Here's another one. Do a spiritual cleanse. A lot of talks about cleanses these days out there. Do a spiritual cleanse. Sometimes you just need to clean out the crud spiritually in your life. I love the section in the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament where the prophet is writing and speaking on behalf of God. God basically says, you guys have strayed from your faith. You're messing up. You guys, you're a mess. Let's get back together. And he says in chapter 1, verse 16, wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes, cease to do evil. He's talking about repentance there. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they are like crimson, they shall become like wool. I love that text there. It tells me that even this morning, this moment, you can cry out to God, you can reach out to God, and you have an opportunity to leave this building, to leave this room today completely clean. How awesome is that? I don't care where you've gone, how far you've run, what you've done, how many times you messed up. You have an opportunity. Every sin forgiven, every stain in your life completely removed, every mistake erased, gone. I have an awesome God. Just go to him. Straight to him. You don't need me. You have an intercessor. You have Jesus that will go on your behalf. Ask for forgiveness. Ask for a fresh start. He provides it every time. Spiritual cleanse. And the last suggestion I've got for you is do what you did at first. I'm talking to people who are believers already, maybe been a believer for a while, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I just do my thing. I'm a believer, right? Revelation 2, Jesus writes to the church in Ephesus, and he says, you guys, you're doing some good things. You're saying the right things. You believe the right things. You're doing a lot of good stuff. You're working hard, but you've lost your first love. Remember that relationship we had? You've kind of somewhere along the way, you've lost that. Like you're doing all this stuff, but for the wrong reasons. And he says in chapter 2 of Revelation, verse 4, I have this against you. You have abandoned the love you had at first. Abandoned it. You've drifted so far, you just turned your back and said, Remember, therefore, where you have fallen. Repent. Do the works you did at first. So there's Jesus talking to the church, saying, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's reignite the passion from the early days. Let's re-engage our relationship that we had at first. Remember back when I was the most important thing in your world, Jesus? Remember that? Remember back when you'd do anything for me? Remember when no sacrifice was too big for me? Let's go back then. Because somewhere along the line, you've lost it. The relationship is not what it was, not what it could be. Let's go back. Let's refresh. That's our goal in the next few weeks. I've spent some time talking about refreshment. We're going to talk about some simple aspects of your relationship with God that may have become stale. Maybe you just need it. Something about a glass of water with a lemon in it, right? Just like, it just feels good, right? That's what we're going to be talking about these next few weeks. If your faith has become stale for whatever reason, you need to be refreshed. You need some encouragement. The goal is to help you become energized in your faith, to relight the passion for Jesus if it's not there, to help you get back to the point where you wake up in the morning, your soul just sings. You've got another day to serve the King of Kings. That's where we're headed the next few weeks. And we'll get back on that, because it's full of that too. I just felt God wanted us to do this. I don't even know why. I have no data. I have no, just stop. We're going to do this. Okay. Let's do it. Stand with me. Let's pray. Let's sing. Father, refresh us, please. We come to you. I don't know where everybody's at individually with their lives, their relationship with you. I don't know if any of us or all of us have lost